What's up, true believers? Welcome to Greg's Comic Book Club, issue 15. I can't believe it's gone on that long either. I'm one of your hosts, Greg, alongside Curtis Clow. Hello.
Clow.
Damn it, I did the exact same thing. You put it in my head. You inceptioned the wrong pronunciation.
Yeah.
I nailed it the first time, but I'm that bad at it. How are you?
I'm good. It's good to be here.
Yeah? Now, Curtis Clow, here's what I need to know about you. Who the hell are you?
I'm a guy who's trying to be a comic writer.
So what does that mean to you? You hit me up. You're a kind of funny best friend. Legit. You've watched the comic book club on your own.
Yeah.
And you hit me up and you're like, hey, I'm trying to make this dream happen. Where is that dream at for right now? Where are you?
For right now, I have one creator-owned series with Scout Comics. They're like a new. Have you heard of them?
No.
Yeah, they're pretty new. Like only a few years they've been around. And then it's just like kind of putting out my own creator-owned stuff on Kickstarter. Like I have something live on Kickstarter right now.
Okay, what's it called?
Beastlands, this one right here.
Oh, Beastlands right here, you said?
Yeah, I already got it printed out. Printed out some early copies for you guys.
So you're saying that, like, unlike a lot of Kickstarters, this is a real thing. It's already a thing. You can
well, it got funded in 5 days. So
holy crap, dude.
Yeah. So
How did you do that?
Well, I mean, this first one was on Kickstarter too. This is the one that got picked up by Scout Comics.
Okay.
And that one got funded with like a few days left, but like this is like my third Kickstarter, so you just start to build a following. People like what I put out, so yeah.
How did you? So you want to be a comic book creator or a comic book writer? Where does that start for you? Like, did you?
It's been a weird journey. Like I first started out wanting to be just a writer, and then I grew up drawing and writing my own comics, but then somewhere along the line I kind of got out of it. So then I always wanted to be like a video game writer, which is a weird thing because like when you video games, you don't think of writing, unless like The Last of Us.
I do.
Yeah. Like for the games that we like,
yeah.
But mostly it's like more like game mechanics and like battle royales and all this stuff now.
Sure, of course.
So it's kind of like a weird route to get into the video game industry, like through writing. So I was gonna make my own game. I started getting concept art for this. This was gonna be a video game.
Wild Cosmos was
I just was trying to make it like as cheap as possible, like a 2D like immersive experience type thing.
Sure.
And I kind of like designed it, but I don't really have a background in that. And like I was taking computer science classes in college, but I never got too deep into it. And then I have all this concept art, which is not smart to just waste money on all this concept art, unless like you're like Naughty Dog who can afford millions of dollars.
Sure. Neil Druckmann with his endless pockets.
Yeah. So then along the line, I was like, if I just like make like a little storybook, and I was gonna use the concept art to like write, and I just started getting the comics like probably like 5 or 6 years ago.
Okay.
I read them a little bit growing up, but like I didn't really know like where like comic shops were and stuff. It was like before the internet.
Sure.
So then I just started like researching how to make a comic, and then just got deeper.
You actually
and deeper.
did it.
Yeah, I actually did it. Yeah,
a lot of people research it now.
How long have you been doing that now?
Oh, it was my New Year's resolution. Like a year and 3 months, 4 months, right? No, yeah, that's when I missed my goal.
How far have you gotten? You got the outline yet? Or?
No, well, this is the whole thing. Like this will become another theme throughout the episode later. Wink and a nudge. But like it's the same thing as always. That's always stumped me with making comics. Is that it's not my passion. I like it a lot, and it's a cool thing I'd like to try, but like it reminds me so much of how I treat video games, let alone how much I treat making YouTube content. Like when Game Over Greggy, when I started what would become kind of funny, the YouTube channel, it was that I wanted to do that, which meant that I was making videos and I'd take days off from work to make the videos.
Exactly.
And then I'd wake up at 6 a.m. every video published and be in the comments because I couldn't not do it.
Yeah.
Whereas with comics, it's like, this is a really cool thing that I in a different reality, I'm sure I'm doing and enjoying quite a bit. But when I'm on that at the base of that mountain, and I look ahead and I see how much work, and then I look at the Google Calendar of how much things that that are my number
running
1, 2,
company,
my number 2 and 3 priority behind Jen, right? Like it is very much like, cool. That's got to just be something I do when I have whenever I want to. But when do I have the time for it? Because I don't make time for it because it's not there for me.
Yeah.
Unlike you, apparently.
Me working a day job, coming home, and then just like.
What's your day job?
I work for a cable and like internet company, like a blue collar type job. I've been there like 5.5 years.
Are you like one of the like people who goes around and like puts in the modem stuff?
Yeah, that kind of stuff. Hanging lines from the telephone poles.
Yeah.
Putting dishes on houses, crawling on houses. I've hated it.
Sure, yeah. Spider webs and rats. And stuff.
Yeah. I've been off right now on. I have a torn ACL, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wink, right?
Yeah.
Torn ACL. Yeah,
milk it out, Try to make this. I got until October.
Just write nonstop. Just be home.
I got this Kickstarter. I got another comic already finished for Kickstarter right after I sent out these orders.
Yeah.
So
that is, you're aware how fucking awesome that is. Your entire story right there, right? Do people tell you?
My girlfriend tries to like ground me and tell me that I'm doing it, but I don't feel like I'm doing it yet, you know?
Is Crystal over? I can't see behind the TV.
Yeah, she's right there.
Good job, Crystal.
She tells me it's like I have so many people hitting me up for advice now, and it's weird because I used to be that kid doing that when I was like, I'm 26 now, so when I was 21.
You're only 26?
Yeah, I'm only 26. You. So when I was
Look at all this awesome stuff. Fuck you. Dreams in your hands, being all awesome. You got comments.
I don't know. I don't feel like I've, like, for this one, I actually heard back from Image for Beastlands.
Yeah.
Which I heard people never hear back from.
What did they say?
It doesn't fit their catalog at the time, but
Gotcha.
I got denied in person, which is cool. Well, not in person, but over email. Like I hear usually you just never hear anything back from that one. But that one I'm doing with Jo Mijong. She's an artist in South Korea. And like,
that's my thing, Kevin. Like, do we have Skycam? Do you want to do a digital punch in?
Skycam, but it's not aimed correctly.
You do throw up Skycam and I'll angle it in there. Oh, there you go.
Oh, Skycam.
Like, I'm not ever trying to talk shit. You know what I mean? That's not the Greg Miller way, obviously.
Comics.
But I do feel like when you see somebody's like, oh, I wrote a comic and I published myself, and they send it out, you look at the art and you're like, okay, cool. I see. And I'm talking about like my friends who have done this, right?
You can tell why it's not pro yet.
This looks awesome.
Yeah,
like this, like, and that was the thing about it when you hit me up, because again, you're just a kind of funny best friend, right? You listen to the shows, you've heard the shows.
I've been listening since Beyond, when it was the Goldfarb, Clemens, or was it
Clements.
Ryan?
Yeah, Ryan Clements,
and Colin. I've been listening since that crew.
Yeah, that was a good one, right?
Yeah, that was a great crew.
Why are you eating an apple?
I've been, I mean, since like high school. Yeah.
You hit me up and you're like doing all stuff. I'm like, all right, cool. And you sent links, and I started clicking through the links, and it was that thing of like, wait, go back and read the email. Like, wait, he's not a comics, but he's trying. But you go back and you have like articles written about the stuff you're making, right? And you show the art for the Wild Cosmos. You show the art here for Beastlands.
Crazy. Yeah.
Well, even in the inside, right?
Yeah,
like, I mean, like you're super lucky. So how are you teaming? How are you finding the artists? Are you going out? Hey, I want to do this Kickstarter. Did you already know the artists? How is this happening?
It's weird. Like I don't know. Well, first I have like a good taste in art, I guess, because some people, I don't know. Like,
humble brag.
Humble brag. Just having a good taste. I don't know. Like this one, the first one I did is when I was still getting like the video game concept art, and then I got a poster done from this artist in Italy, and then I was like, hey, I'm thinking about making a comic actually, and then he referred me to like this studio there that has all these good comic artists, and that's where I met Morrow. But he's off this now. He only did the first issue. I had to find a new artist for the rest of the series.
Sure. So there's more than just this book?
Yeah, that's just the first issue.
Okay, wow.
I just kind of like, I was like a rebel printing it oversized.
I was going to say, like, based on it, like, you look at it, and then in the back with like concept art you do have in here, right?
Yeah,
the sketches, it comes off like it's
it doesn't look like it's like one issue, but yeah, it's just one issue.
Dude.
So the rest of the issues will be coming out this year with Scout Comics. But yeah, I was just a rebel. I was like, fuck mainstream comics. I want to make this like all big and oversized.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, now that's like really expensive to like have it like a soft cover for just one issue. So now it's all just regular sized.
So yeah. You got it out of your system. Fuck mainstream comics. Why do they do it that way? There's a really good reason they do it that way.
Yeah. It's not cost effective, like to actually try to make a living out of this.
Yeah.
And now the rest of the artists I found Jo just on social media. She just posts a bunch of like DC fan art, and this is her first comic. Like everybody thinks she's like worked in the industry, but she works in the video game industry doing like UI in Korea, in South Korea. But I don't think that she really likes her job, and that's like a different comic I have coming out.
On the back here?
Yeah.
What's the name of this one?
That one is unannounced yet. That's gonna be King of the Jungle.
King of the Jungle.
And then if you look at
Kickstarter as well.
Yeah, that'll be on Kickstarter. Then the other one we have finished is this one. That's another one with one of my favorite artists, P.S. Bach.
Okay.
He's that one's called Slightly Exaggerated. That'll be coming out next. So I have like 4 creator-owned ones.
Dude, this is rad. So, like, you're stumping me, which is rare in an interview because you're so good and everything looks so great. Do you want to go mainstream? You talk to Image, obviously. Do you want that, or do you want?
Oh yeah, Image is the dream. Yeah, I don't want to just keep doing Kickstarters and putting this stuff on my own. But like most creative,
because are you making any margins on this?
Yeah. Like the goal for this Kickstarter was 5,000. That's like the bare minimum to kind of get me out of like debt, because I'm just putting this on my credit card to get this finished, so I have it done before the Kickstarter is even done, so I can fulfill it quicker. Like this one, fulfilling it took us like 6 months or maybe longer, and I just hated like how long a Kickstarter takes. So this one, right when the Kickstarter is done, since we're already funded, I'll just be able to print it, ship it to everyone. So hopefully it's like done within a month, and so I can get on to the next one.
You talk about how obviously for this one you had the backing already, the kids or the people who I call everybody kids, the people who had followed you on Wild Cosmos. How did you break out to find them for the Wild Cosmos?
It was tough. It was, yeah. I mean, like the first day of the Kickstarter for the Wild Cosmos got like $320. The first day for this one got like $1,500. So It's just like this one was a grind, just every day, like posting on Reddit. I would post the cover. Like that cover's beautiful, so it's like an easy sell. And
Sure,
like the title, you know.
And like
the
I was
Wild
saying, right? Like
Cosmos.
I think the cream rises to the top of this kind of stuff, where you're like, hey, I'm doing my own thing, I'm making my own story, and it looks like this. It's not something that not phoned in, but like in the same way, you know, you're learning to go like you know, your artist as well, and that comes in a spectrum of things.
But you find a lot of like backers naturally from Kickstarter. People just browse that to like like indie comics. Yeah, like you'll get half of your money from usually just Kickstarter naturally. And if you get popular on Kickstarter, then Kickstarter will like put you to like the front page. Yeah. And then more people will see it. But then also like for this one, I've learned a lot more about marketing, like Facebook ads and like posting on social media. I hate social media, but it's like you have to do it.
Calm down.
You know,
right, social media is pretty cool.
You like it?
Yeah. Well, clearly I'm on it all the time and nonstop about it.
Oh, when you're Greg Miller, it might be cool.
But I mean, when you're Curtis Clow, come on. So what? So you want to? How does this work? I don't even know, because like I was talking about writing comics in such a, oh yeah, I have this idea for a Superman comic I want to tinker with and do it. It was never like I really want to do it. Yeah. So for you, from ground up bootstraps, was the original thing with Wild Cosmos. Obviously, you had all right. You're trying to make a game. It's not going to happen. You'll try your hand at writing a game or a comic book. Find out you really like it, and then do you start applying cold calling? What do you?
When I was making the video game, and then I transitioned to like a comic, and then it was kind of like remembering like this passion I had for comics when I was a kid. Even though I didn't read them much, I maybe had like a Spider-Man, like a Wolverine comic, and then had like a Silver Surfer comic from like Burger King that I still have.
Yeah, of course.
But I was still like writing and drawing my own comics as a kid, and then I did the video game stuff, and then transitioning to comics, it was kind of like falling back in love with it, and now just completely being obsessed with them, reading all these like creator-owned comics. I don't really read many superhero comics. I read like White Knight and stuff like that.
Yeah.
More creator-owned comics like Image, Dark Horse stuff.
Of course, yeah. Well, that's what's so cool about Image, I think, right? Is that you, as a creator, own your own IP. You don't have to worry about like selling it out or getting.
And now it's like a creator-owned renaissance. Like with Scout Comics, who's going to be publishing this. There's like 5 or 6 of them. These small ones, Aftershock Comics, Vault Comics, like all these big, these publishers that are like rising. And now like Scout Comics, hopefully I can grow with them. They're pretty new. They've been around 2 years, but there's a lot of them now.
Okay, so then, for people who want to get your stuff, Wild Cosmos, Beastlands, what's the easiest way for them to do it?
This will be on Kickstarter for 2 more weeks. Okay. It'll be at beastlandscomic.com, and that will direct you to the Kickstarter. This one will be for sale on 2infinitystudios.com. Okay. And then the rest of the series will be coming out with Scout Comics later this year.
Awesome. Are they on Comixology? Do you have to?
No.
Okay. Because I know they've been doing a whole bunch of their own creator-owned and stuff like that.
I looked into uploading this, but I'll just let Scout Comics take care of that.
Sure,
stuff.
yeah, of course. If you have a publisher,
this one,
right?
I still want to find a publisher for. So I got turned down by Image. I only submitted to Image and Dark Horse for now, but maybe after I get a few more issues done, I'll submit it to like the smaller creator ones. So.
Sure. So is that how it works too? That once you're saying get issues done in terms of finish writing them and getting them art, or do you mean like actually get them published?
Because like Scout Comics still will let me do a Kickstarter for the Wild Cosmos, and like I'm gonna try to wait until I have like issues 2 and 3 done, and then do a Kickstarter for like both of them, and then they won't start releasing this in comic shops until I get issues 1 through 3 done. But they're not paying the page rate. Like I still, as a writer, you're like the coach. You have to pay for all of the artists. I have to pay the commission page rate. So it's like financially, it's not smart to be a comic writer, especially trying to make it. It's really expensive.
So then what keeps you going?
It's just loving it. You know, you have to have passion for it. Yeah. Like I would come home from like a 12-hour day job and then work on this for like three or 4 hours, go to sleep, go back to work, come home and just work on it. I mean, luckily now I have the time because I'm off injured. Yeah. But it's hard. Yeah. It's hard to.
Crystal, does this drive you nuts? Like he works all day, he comes home, writes comics all night? Oh. She just shrugs. No.
She doesn't care.
Yeah.
I leave her alone.
That's awesome. And so the dream obviously is to do this full time.
Yeah, the dream is to do this full time. Like even if like that's my goal in 2019 is to, even if I can make like the bare minimum to pay my bills in 2019, that'd be the goal. Yeah.
Dude, this is awesome. You're going to do it. This stuff looks awesome.
Thank you.
And I mean, obviously you've already found an audience in the fact that keep going.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the biggest thing you've learned? I mean, from starting off on this?
You just have to finish stuff. Like a lot of people that want to do this, like Greg over here, you have to like finish something. And then after that, like people will see you finish stuff. And like I said, it's weird to I have so many like emails and stuff for people asking for advice how to do this.
Sure.
On social media, everybody messaged me like, how do you get started? How do you build an audience? I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm just making stuff. You know?
Just do it. Right?
Yeah, you just have to do it.
I feel like that's the same thing when people hit me up about, hey, I want to do what you do. I'm like, cool. Are you doing it?
You just
make a podcast. Like, that's what you gotta do. But I don't know if you know, it's way easier to make a podcast than it is to make a comic.
Yeah, I have a podcast too.
Do you? What's up?
Writing comics.
Pimp your stuff, man.
Writing comics that I don't even know if my girlfriend knows about this. I just record it while she's at work.
You use like a voice exchanger. No one knows who's behind writing
exactly.
comics.
I know, I've never promoted it, but when people ask me for advice, I'm like, just go listen to this. I have like 25 episodes in the past 2 years, so it's not like every week, but it's just like every once in a while I'll just talk about like the process of kickstarting your comic to like even just like the writing process and stuff like that.
What was the biggest like shock to you? Like, were you naive coming into this? Did you think it was going to be easier than it was?
No, I mean I knew it was gonna be hard.
Yeah.
Like, just to make something and to do a Kickstarter and like get a following. Like the first Kickstarter goal was $5,000 also, and we raised $6,000. So
yeah.
It's hard, but
hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, I love it though.
You're killing it, Curtis. Congratulations, dude. Super stoked for you. So everybody check them out. Yeah. What's your you hate social media, but you do
I have it though.
You
Yeah,
begrudgingly do it.
Curtis Writer C. I'm trying to get better at it because I know you need it for like the whole following. And
sure. Yeah.
If you want to sell some books.
So now you said you're not super into superheroes. Or when you see this, is this the way you always want to go with it? You always want to be creator owned?
No, I would love to get paid to write for like Marvel, DC too. Like
sure.
Just getting paid to be a writer is cool. Like I would love to write for some video game companies too.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is just like the bread and butter, like creator-owned comics, like making these worlds, these characters. Like this is all like I feel like that I've never like had a work like a work for hire like writing job.
Sure.
But I would love to do that and just experience that like different side of creativity. You know, working in somebody else's sandbox.
So that's talk to me about that. Right. I think it was a cheat code for me when I started like futzing around with the Superman scripts. Right. Because those came easy because I know Superman, I know Lois Lane, I know Jimmy. When I would start noodling, I'm gonna make my own comic and blah blah blah. Like. Real quick, it would become daunting in terms of I have to make up a rule. This world, you have to come up with the rules all by yourself and who these people are, and then have them have these relationships. And even if the reader never knows why this person is like this with this super side character NPC over here, you have to know that or know that. Mm-hmm. How do you sit down and plan something like the Wild Cosmos or Beastlands?
It's hard. Like I don't know. This stuff just comes to me like. I probably think of like the world first, and then it's about like making up characters that people can relate to and try to ground them, make sure they have like realistic flaws, and making sure you have like a theme, like a universal theme, and then like a character arc, all of that like structure stuff. But probably first coming up with like the world of Beastlands, like that's just inspired by like Pokemon and Game of Thrones and all the stuff I love. So
man, two totally unpopular IPs.
Oh yeah,
it's gonna be really hard to find people who care about Beastlands with that kind of pitch. Curtis, I'm so excited you're here with me. Thank you for coming
Excited
in.
To be
Thanks
here.
for hitting me up too.
Yeah.
Never would have known otherwise.
Thanks for emailing me back, man.
Hey man, anytime. That's what it's all about. If you didn't know, this is Greg's Comic Book Club each and every month here on patreon.com/kindafunny. We put out a Patreon exclusive show. That's right, a show you can only get by supporting us on patreon.com/kindafunny at that $1 level. Thank you so much. It won't go anywhere. Maybe on Free Comic Book Day we'll put one out, but you know what I mean. This is it. This is where it is. It lives here. Yay. And that means the rules are different, but you understand. Try to put it up the first Wednesday every month. We're actually going to hit that this month. We're excited to be back on track about that. Aren't we, Kevin?
Probably.
What do you mean? It's tomorrow. No, 2 days from now. You got plenty of time to get it up.
I'm sure we're going to nail it.
Slap it. Cool, Greg can do it. You slap a bumper on it, you're done.
I'm 100% sure we're going to nail it.
Damn right, Kevin. That's what I like to see. That's the excitement.
You know, probably.
I hate you. Housekeeping for you. The Kinda Funny World Tour is still rolling on. We just crushed Kansas City. You were amazing, Missouri. Thank you so much. New York City, if you're watching this, like pretty much the day it publishes, we're going to be out there Saturday, April 6th at Ease Bar in Morningside Heights. Come hang out with us 3 to 6. And then Vancouver, we're coming your way May 4th. London, sometime in the second half of the year. You can keep up at kindafunny.com/events. Curtis, you've seen the show. You know how it rolls. What's the best thing you've read this month?
What did I read? So I did like I am someone who likes reading physically. Like I don't read digitally at all. Like you have to have that like matte cover and all that stuff.
Yeah, you want to feel it.
Like as a self-publisher, you have to love book design. So I hate digital, but I'll read like the first issues of like some digital books just to make sure I like it before buying the trades. So I read Die because I heard you talking about it.
Oh, please tell me you liked it.
And I wasn't like stoked about the art style at first.
Really? Okay.
But I ended up loving the story.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's great.
Great,
I
great,
see why it's so popular now. So I'll definitely buy the trade for that when it comes out. And then like the art style, I started getting used to it. Like it's kind of like more of a painterly style, but like for like close-ups, like of faces and stuff, I wasn't too into it. But there's some beautiful pages, with, like the rain reflection and like that red umbrella, like stuff like that. Like so, I'm excited to check out the rest of that. Middle West, have you read that?
I haven't read Middle West.
That's Scotty Young's. He's writing it. You know who he is?
No.
He's an artist. He did I Hate Fairyland for Image. He's got a bunch of have you heard of that?
I've heard of it.
It was popular.
Yeah.
That one ended. I think he's like this one. I don't know if this is the first one he's written, but it's one of like the most beautiful books I've read in a while too.
Wow,
like,
really?
The colorist, I don't know who it is, but the colors really pop out.
What was it called?
Middle West. So it's like a fantasy, like Midwest vibe.
Okay.
So it's like the villain, or I guess the bad person would be like this like big tornado because it's like the Midwest.
I gotcha. Yeah, I see the cover.
But it's more mature. Like it's based on these kids, but it's kind of like got curse words and stuff, so it's more mature vibe too.
Looks like it's George Corona is the artist on it.
Artist.
Yeah. That's a cool style. From Image as well.
Mm-hmm.
Look at you.
And then what else did I read? Murder Falcon. I read that first issue.
Yeah,
that I had the same. I've only read one issue, but I had that same feeling like it's going to be like on his head or something.
Yeah, we got to get there and see what that is. Yeah,
but
that
is by Daniel Warren Johnson. I think he's like one of the best artists right now. He did Extremity.
Okay.
I think Joey talked about that with you, but that was his book right before this. That one was a little more. Like a little more heavy compared to like Murder Falcon. Murder Falcon's just like that fun Falcon fighting everything.
Sure, yeah.
But I think he's like a guy who writes and draws, and like I think he's just one of those high level guys that we'll look back at. I mean, he's still pretty early. This is only like his third or second Image book, so. But I think he's one of the top guys out right now. Have you seen his commissions? Daniel Warren? Yeah, you have to follow him on Instagram. Yeah.
Okay.
His commissions are crazy.
Yeah, I gotta do that more with a lot of artists. Where I feel like the few I did, I freaked out at Planet Comic Con because Patrick Gleason was there. Like his booth was there, and we were walking around getting a tour, and I ran over, and he did a whole bunch of the Superman stuff for Rebirth, and in particular, like the Lois and Clark and Jonathan stuff, which I fucking love. And so I got to go through his pages, and I'm like, oh my god, these are so incredible. And he wasn't even there; he was doing a panel, and I never had time to get back to tell him how much I love him. So I just had to tweet, and I was like, do I follow him? I follow him on Instagram, but it's like I don't know why I don't follow more of the artists. I follow so many people on Twitter because I'm there more, I think, and then Instagram. There's so much cool shit happening, but I never ever do anything with it.
Yeah, but I think Daniel, he's like really known for his commissions. I think he's like the best guy out there right now.
Okay.
The over the top stuff.
Sure. I mean, Ryan Otley's out there, but nobody. Whatever. Don't worry about
Invincible.
it.
I haven't read Invincible yet.
What the fuck?
I know.
Curtis, come on.
I gotta read that one.
See, that's a great one for you, especially where you're not super into superheroes. Like the way they take the genre and turn it on its head, and then just keep running with it from there on out. You'd like it. It's all done.
Meaning to.
Yeah, which is the best part. You can wait for the ultimate omnibus, I'm sure, or whatever, that'll come out and have everything. Yeah, just one giant tome of Invincible, but there's one way to do it that way. For me, best thing I read this month, ladies and gentlemen, and you, Curtis, even though I guess you're a gentleman, Detective Comics 1000. I wasn't super stoked about it going up for it. I like Batman fine, obviously. But I did really dig Action Comics 1000 earlier this year, or I guess last year, where they had, how these are. They have a bunch of different stories from a bunch of different people in them. And so in particular, I'm not saying overall Action Comics 1000 was the best one of all time. I really dug inside of it, this one, which is Batman's Greatest Case by Tom King. Tom King, of course, still working on the current run of Batman and stuff, right? But it was a great one that I found confusing for the beginning of it and then got moving, right? Where basically we see Batman, or Bruce Wayne in this instance as I'm paging through, going to his parents' grave, of course, classic Bruce Wayne stuff. However, as he walks through, there's all these different boxes of words coming up, right? And you can see it's Richard, Damien, do you know? And it's them arguing back and forth, and then we get to a page where they start introducing more and more people. And so it's Batgirl, it's spoiler, it's Batwoman, right? There's even Batgirl, this conversation, there's one panel, right, of Batgirl talking to Batwoman. Okay, then how old are you? It doesn't matter. You're a woman. I'm a girl. I want to know the difference. Like them going, and then they go back to being Bruce Wayne. And again, you're just filled with different bubbles. No color, no little logo, right? Usually in a superhero book or any book, when you're jumping around, if we're jumping between people, we have some indication of who's talking. The way they do it here is to overwhelm you, I think, to drive home how many people are there, how many people are talking. But you can actually keep the threads going if you know the characters, which I'm lucky enough that I do. And so it's this weird thing of going through, they don't know why they've all been gathered on this rooftop, what's going on, why is it happening, blah, blah, blah. And then it turns out they're there just for a family photo. That Batman brought them all up there to take one photo with everybody there that's part of the Bat family. And then the reveal of him, what he's at the gravesite to do is put it down. And again, for me, it's what I love about superhero comics, right, is not the punching and not the tights and not, the over the top, we're going to space antics. It is very much hey, you know this character, we're giving you this story that is somehow tied into continuity, right? But it's not necessarily something you need to have read everything Tom King's done so far up to this point. You know who Batman is, you know the archetype, we're able to toss it into it. They even have Catwoman there, right? Which doesn't make much sense based on how the real stories have been structured so far with the whole fallout from the wedding and all that jazz. I just thought it was a really sweet tale. And again, in an anthology, right, of a million different writers going in and doing something with the character, that's what I'd rather see than him punch the Joker. I thought it was a really touching one. It's going to come up a few more times, so let's just jump into the pull list. Which, by the way, comic book fans, as you know, Greg's comic book club fans, I put up on Patreon the pull list, and I put up on Patreon the participation link where you guys can come in and you can ask questions and stuff like that. We got to redo the pull list. I just noticed in the same way I don't have time to read, to make a comic, to do stuff, I'm not jumping in there and updating it with what I'm actually reading. So what is it? Is it giving you anything? I think for the dollar level, I still need to say, here's what required reading is, here's who the guest is, here's when the show is, and link you to where you submit questions. But I don't know if it's going to make more sense to keep putting up what I'm reading if I'm not going to keep up with it. Because no one knew Detective was on there. Now, granted, you watch this show, you listen to the show, you know I talk about the same 4 writers and artists every show. So you could probably, with an educated guess, know where it's going to go. But I digress. Detective 1000 had a couple other ones I thought were standouts in there. For me, another one was by Jeff Johns, of course, called The Last Crime in Gotham. Again, we're dropped in here and you're not 100% sure what's going on, but as we go through, it's a grown-up Damien, or an older Damien, it's a Catwoman, it's a bat daughter of some kind running through, and it is this idea is they shoot through, they haven't had the signal turned on in months, they're going through trying to figure out, that's a note from the son of Joker, right? And you're just like, this is a weird futuristic take. What is it, the payoff to it? The payoff is that he, at the very end, disconnects it, right? You should spend your time with Barbara and Jason and the kids, he tells Commissioner Gordon, right? And then he goes, it's time for family now, for all of us. And he unplugs the bat symbol, right? Because this is the last crime. It'll never be turned back on. And then we fade out here at the very end, right, to modern Batman, Alfred going, I hope you made a wish, after he blows out the candles, right? And then he doesn't say anything, it's happy birthday, sir. And it's this idea that, what we just saw, the last crime in Gotham was the wish. The wish was, as hardened and sometimes shitty as Batman is, he still wants the family life. And he dreams of his wife and 2 children being in costumes as well, still being out there. And it's another nice pullback, I thought, of it. Another standout was I Know in here. It was a futuristic one. Batman's in a wheelchair, or Bruce Wayne's in a wheelchair. Oswald Cobblepot shows up and has a long thing where he's basically telling him he's known all along that he was Batman. And now he's here to tell him before basically one of them dies that I knew and I'm smarter than you and yada yada. And then Batman gets his comeuppance at the end, but it was still fun. Meanwhile, Frank over on patreon.com/kindafunny wrote in, said, I could talk about this issue all day long, so I'll keep it short. Just like Action 1000, I think this was a great celebration of Batman. Also like Action, there were some great stories and some okay stories. King's one surprised me, as I'm not a huge fan of his sad Batman run, but I loved his story in this, again, that being the one I was just talking about with the photo. My personal favorite moment was the final pages of Ellis' story where he gets the trigger, perfectly showing that Batman might be dark, but he's still a hero. The only story I didn't really like was the Dennis O'Neil one. It just felt more like a dig at Batman rather than a celebration of the rest of the book that was. I give it 5 out of 5 Nut Brodies, which is another great one if you go through and read that. That's a fun one that didn't get my list. And I agree that the Denny O'Neil one was a weird one. It was like him getting talked off the ledge of beating up some kids. You're like, well, why is this in here, right? Because it's Leslie O'Neil. These kids come up, they start harassing Batman, and Batman, as you'd expect, goes ham on the kids, like, get the hell out of here, and starts beating on them, right? But then, she stops him, and it's just a weird... No, they're thugs.
As someone who doesn't read superhero comics, is Detective Comics always an anthology, or is it just because it was issue 1000?
It's issue 1000. So issue 1000. When they do this, they bring in, I think, classic writers, old and new, to come in and give them a couple pages.
And Detective Comics, that's just like a different run of Batman.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm lost when
it's fine. I mean, it's like this, right? There's been plenty more. There's been plenty of Batman and Superman books that then get pared down. You always have, for Superman, Action Comics and Superman, you always have Detective Comics and Batman.
Those runs are just going to keep going.
Exactly. Yeah. That's why they're up to 1000, right? And here or there they've changed, but usually they're continuing the same story in their own thing. So Detective, Superman, or Batman, be Batman. That obviously they cross over here and there. They're in the old days, with Superman and Batman, they'd be like the numbering system of this issue has a number, but then there's a little triangle over here that has a number, and that's how you really know what you're keeping up with, and just give us a lot of money for all these books. Luca wrote in, said about Detective 1000, loved it, at least most of it. Tom's King story was probably my favorite. I'm a sucker for the Bat fam and was happy to see them all there. Bendis, Dini, and Snyder's were also great, and I love that all the stories show so many different elements and tones that explore what makes the character so great. A couple of the stories fell a little flat, though, and Tomasi's epilogue was honestly a bit lame, just like the generic voiceover of Batman's iconic moments, with a tease for the Arkham Knight at the end. Yeah, that's the big one. In the same way Action Comics 1000 teased Bendis' run of Superman with the introduction of Rogol Zaar, at the end of this one we get, the Arkham Knight, who they had announced is actually going to be in comics now, popping up here. And his whole...
After the video game, he's coming.
It can't be Jason... Well, spoilers for Batman Arkham Knight. It can't be Jason Todd because Jason Todd's Red Hood or whatever. But they do this whole thing where he's coming out and he thinks Batman's a bad man. And it was like, okay... all right, like okay, whatever. Just get there. Just show me the thing, and I'll be about it. On my pull list for the rest of the month, then I had Action Comics 1009. I thought this was a huge miss. Action Comics, month after month here on this show, has been the one where I'm like, this is what I want out of a Superman book. Like, it's grounded. It's about him and Lois. They introduced this thing last time around where Lois finally told her dad that Clark's Superman and all this stuff, and it was more like, hey, this is the Clark book versus the Superman book. This continues obviously off of the last one where Amanda Waller's there. All hell's breaking loose. They bring Amanda Waller to the Fortress of Solitude. It's all up in the Fortress of Solitude. Lois is yelling at her, but they're still trying to keep this. They bring Jimmy up too because he's involved in this cult thing, and they're trying to keep it up this front that Jimmy apparently doesn't know, but she calls him Superman honey. I was like, I don't understand what's happening, and I don't like this one bit, Curtis. All right, this is barf. I didn't
Who's
like
the writer of that one?
That's Bendis. Bendis is on both Action and Superman right now. So
he came over, and now he's doing just all Superman.
Exactly.
Stuff.
Well, he's doing everything. I don't know. You talk about how it's not my passion, right? This guy must only care about comics, and then his amazing family that he puts up photos all the time. But he's like, he's doing this. He's doing Naomi. He's doing all his other books. He's doing Young Justice. He's like, I don't know. You talk about how hard or easy it is to write a comic book. It must be the easiest thing in the world for him because he's writing like 19 a week. It appears.
Doing a lot,
There's just so much popping up. It didn't do it for me. I thought it was a weird book. However, Superman 8 and 9, the book that I hadn't been digging because it was like, oh man, Earth's now in the Phantom Zone. Oh, this is shit. I'm like, well, who cares? We saw Jonathan come back. Jonathan Kent being Lois and Clark's son. Not sure how up to date you are.
Don't know that stuff.
So has it been an interesting thing, right? Where they not even bringing in the whole two different Supermans in Rebirth. We'll get out of that, right? Lois and Clark have a kid named Jonathan, right? He's what I think he's a 10 or 11.
Is he the same one from like Super Sons type stuff?
Exactly.
I read a few issues of that. I was a little interested with Damian Wayne and him. So.
Yeah, exactly. So he's that age, right? He's just a kid there, right? He went away with Jor-El, who's still alive. They went off to explore the universe kind of thing. A month later, they came back, and for them, 6 or 7 years has passed. So now Jonathan's a teenager, like he's full blown. And when they first brought him back, Lois had the moment and Clark had the moment of like, oh my God, like we've missed your whole childhood, right? And then kind of get over it. And you're like, well, that's, at least they acknowledged it, right? These two issues are him actually telling them his story. And there's a bunch of different stoppages where both Clark and Lois are like, shell-shocked, like that that this has happened, that they've lost their son, they've missed out on these formative years for him. And then really interestingly, as they recap what happened and how we got to this point, he went over to the crime syndicate's Earth, like the other Earth, you know what I mean, where the Superman's a bad guy and all that stuff. And like he was like really, really, really tortured, like really, and they do a great, I thought Bendis does an amazing job of introducing that, where like Jonathan's like, listen, Dad, what I'm about to tell you, just remember this isn't your fault. Like it's very much like how a superhero you'd imagine would walk their superhero family through what just happened to them. But like him being tortured and left in a volcano and all this stuff, and like being like just the mental mind games that Ultraman and the crime syndicate's playing with him because he looks like his father and fucking with him and doing all these different things. It's like, it's actually really messed up and not something a Superman book usually would go into, let alone hopefully the ramifications that will have on Superman. So I thought that was cool. Complete opposite of that was Young Justice 3. As you know, Con-El, my favorite superhero, Superboy. Jonathan's great. Love Superboy.
Okay, so he's a different Superboy, or that's a different dude?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Jonathan Kent is Superboy now. The way they had set up the universe up until Young Justice was that Connor Kent had kind of been forgotten. He was gone. When they did Rebirth, he never existed. They'd show like Death and Return stuff. He wouldn't be a part of it. However, now Young Justice with Bendis, he's bringing him back into the Young Justice with Impulse and Robin and everybody there. But we still don't know how. And I thought I was missing something in terms of the way the book was explaining it as it was going. And then issue 3 really getting into how Connor got to where he is, how people didn't know where he was. Like there's more here happening, and it's still, wait, so why wasn't it explained here, there, the other, whatever? But I'm still interested to see how this all goes. And I think it's got a cool twist in it of, they're over on Gem World, which is just a alternate dimension or whatever. Connor's over there. He's been living there since he basically got lost or got thrown off of Smallville when he was wearing the cool black T-shirt that I love so much in jeans. And, through a conversation with Impulse, you start piecing together a little bit about what's happening. And he's been over there in Gem World farming, and like he won't fight these guys. And it seems like it's a really interesting twist of like, okay, cool. I started that book and I was like, oh, cool. It's just going to be a saccharine sweet, this is what this book's going to be. And it still is very saccharine. And it's like, cool. I don't mind a Saturday morning cartoon. But it actually is now giving me hooks of like, oh man, I do want to know more about this. And I still want to know about the Teen Lantern and all these different things, which superhero books usually not all that great at in terms of if they're going to go one way, not getting it for me. Logan wrote in patreon.com/kindafunny and said, in the new Young Justice comic, do you think Stephanie Brown will make an appearance? Last time we saw her, she and Tim Drake were leaving Wayne Manor together. I really like the relationship, and I'm worried she will be ignored. Young Justice, here's the thing is, I'm still totally confused as to what Young Justice is in current continuity. I would think that's way more for your detective, actual mainline DC books, especially because she's in the Bat Family photo I was talking about, right? For Batman's Greatest Case here from Tom King, who is writing the current stuff. So I think they have way more plans for Stephanie. And I think a lot of people like Stephanie Brown, Logan. So I wouldn't worry about it. Curtis, as you know, we do required reading on this show. Every month, we have a guest on here. They tell us what we should read. We all go read it. Everybody writes in with their reviews. Last time around, it was Tokyo Ghost picked by Rick Remender and Sean Gordon Murphy. As usual, now twice in a row, I didn't read it. I'm a son of a bitch. You know what I mean? This is what I was talking about earlier, though, with you and hinting at in the intro of just like passions, right? Of just like, what did I have time for this month? And
Division 2.
Division 2 like a motherfucker, and then reading the Superman books I wanted to read and stuff like that. And again, that's what the club is. The club is not on our mainline kind of funny content, I think, because it would hold it to a different standard. This is very much when we started doing it, letting you guys, the best friends, into what my passion for comics is, which is like video games are my number one, right? So like when I'm gonna be caught up in it, I'm gonna have to do this. Kayla, a frequent contributor to the show, great contributor to the show, wrote in with the same thing of, man, she's like, I've been in a slump, I'm way behind, I'm not caught up on my books. A lot of people actually wrote in saying they didn't do required reading either, because I think we're at that point where we're all so busy that if it's not something you're passionate about, if this isn't a book you're all about, when are you gonna get to it? Lucky for us, everybody, Curtis is passionate about this book. What do you think of Tokyo Ghost?
So Tokyo Ghost is my favorite all-time series. Like Rick Remender, he's my favorite writer. Have you read anything else besides Deadly Class?
No, Deadly Class. Descender, right, Kevin?
The Descender, that's Jeff Lemire.
Damn. No, I don't think
he does Black Hammer, but you're close. That was all the required reading. He probably influenced me the most. Like once I found Tokyo Ghost, I was like, oh shit, this is what comics can be. Like so mature.
So did you find this after your lapse? Like when you were looking?
After I already started making the Wild Cosmos, I found that. So it's like I've just been like reading as much as I can, playing catch up, because I just started like getting into comics like a lot, like 5 or 6 years ago. Yeah. So like now I'm just going through all of Rick's series. He's definitely my favorite writer. Just like the whole matureness of all of his comics. Yeah. And then so Tokyo Ghost specifically, that is by Sean Gordon Murphy. He's the artist. He does the White Knight now, and he's like another guy like Daniel Warren Johnson, where he does writing and drawing. Like I think he said he would never work with a writer again. Really? And yeah. So I think like both of those are like high level geniuses in like their art like that. But
so for like I said, a lot of people like myself didn't read it. What is the pitch?
It is it's like a Mad Max cyberpunk world. Where like everything's fueled by violence. Everybody's addicted to social media and like these VR headsets. So I think Rick has kind of like that same feeling of like
you.
Yeah, like addiction to your cell phone, addiction to social media. And it's about Debbie. I think the main character is Debbie, and then the guy is Led, and then he's addicted to his like little VR headset, or has like augmented reality shows popping up, and there are these constables where they have to like hunt down people. Yeah. And then it's about like codependency, where she's like, even though he's addicted to all this stuff, she's still in love with him and has to. And like her arc, it's only 10 issues, it's only 2 volumes, so her arc from like that first issue, when she's like relying on him, to like who she becomes at the end, I think it's like really powerful.
Nice.
Really well done.
Kayla, who again apologized for not being able to do her normal amount of work on this show, which is fine, Kayla. Take your time and live your life. Did find time for Tokyo Ghost, filed this review. Tokyo Ghost is an interesting comic with different ideas and subject matter like technology addiction that reflects in modern times, even though it's set in a dystopian cyberpunk era. I'm very much feeling middle of the road after reading Volume 1, so let's talk about the bright spots of the book. Sean Gordon Murphy's art and Matt Hollingsworth colors elevate the story. I definitely became a fan after reading White Knight, so I'm glad to have experienced another book of his, ... Just really love the cleaner Frank Miller-esque visuals. It can be very, very busy, but ultimately it works with the story. This was one of my things of glancing at the book, and where I think I was at with my time and like being on the plane yesterday and what comics I wanted to read, was very much that I felt tired every time I sat down to my iPad, and so when I did see what was happening in the art here, it was like, it seems like a lot to take in right now. If that makes sense, you know what I mean?
Like Sean's style is like heavy blacks, like lots of details. So yeah, Ellie back there barking.
Ellie sounds just. There's a beagle over here named Ellie. Sounds just like Portillo. So I was just, I'm not sure who it was gonna be. Kayla continues, chapter 1 was probably my least favorite chapter because I was just lost. Starting on an action-packed scene with characters I have no idea who they are is probably not the best start. And honestly, if I was going from issue to issue, I would have stopped at the first. Chapter 2 did expand on the backstory of Debbie and Teddy, which helped me sort of care about the main characters. When we arrive in Japan, things start picking up from there. When we see Led going through withdrawals and slowly becoming Teddy again, you really do root for him and Debbie. Addiction is horrible in any form, and it affects everything and everyone in its path. Teddy becomes the man that Debbie fell in love with, but I knew the shoe was going to drop eventually because that's real life. I didn't really care about the villain with the cringy millennial talk. I feel like this book could have gone without it. I'm intrigued to read volume 2 though, and see how it all ends, but I think I can hold out. So interesting, you know what
I mean, I feel like the opposite. It's so subjective. Like, what kind of art
I mean, that's how art is, right? No, totally. This isn't me like, haha, gotcha.
I think that first issue is like one of the best first issues I've ever read. Like that action opening is just awesome. The visuals. I know Sean Murphy really likes drawing cars and all that. So it's like these like death race style racing. And then that last issue, or the ending of that first issue, where she's like, she's trying to snap him out of it, like get him away from the addiction to this technology. She's like, I'm gonna have sex with him. I'm gonna get him to wake up. And then it does a close up, and he's like, no, my shows. And she's like on top of him trying to wake him up. And he's just not into it.
Jesus. Jesus,
I think it's like one of the most powerful first issues I've ever read.
Wow. Jay, I think echoes you. Jay here says on Patreon, the opening pages were very reminiscent of the 1980s New York bestseller Neuromancer by William Gibson, mixed with shades of Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. Add in The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise for good measure in issue 3, and you've got Tokyo Ghost. The stark contrast between the neon pinks and browns used in the hustle and bustle of Los Angeles and the lush overgrown greens and star-filled skies of Tokyo was majestic. Besides being a solid action story, I felt there was some commentary on overconsumption and reliance on technology. You think? It was also kind of heartbreaking seeing someone deal with a loved one's addiction. Mario Miranda wrote in and said, I think this is another issue of wanting more continuity because I felt this was too short. One of my top 2 favorite Remender works is Uncanny X-Force, and I think that succeeds because in addition to Remender writing his ass off, I think he added attachment/continuity with the characters really added to the overall narrative. So he's talking about wanting to know more about him, which is always a good sign. I think it's so good that it's so short. Like I think he nails that ending in the end of the second volume. And I know he's talked about even continuing it with another artist, or he was gonna like let somebody else write the rest of the series. But I'm glad he just hasn't done that and it just ended there. Dude, there's so much to be said for being left wanting more. Mm-hmm. And I'm not talking shit about anything, but like I think the more, even, and we'll get to Doomsday Clock eventually, the more you see of Watchmen, the less special Watchmen feels, right? Because I feel like that initial thing was so powerful and so good and so done. So then when they did like Prelude to the Watchmen and now they're doing the Doomsday Clock, it's like, this is cool, but you're taking something I think that transcended comics in a way and like bringing it now just to make it normal comics, which isn't bad. I'm not trying to say normal comics are bad, but something should just be left, right?
Yeah.
Jeremy Barrett wrote in and said, I was extremely pleased when Joey McCormick suggested this series, as I just recently picked it up from my local comic shop and loved reading the first trade. Having just read Batman White Knight a month or 2 earlier, as well as being a huge fan of Deadly Class, I was extremely pleased to see Rick Remender and Sean Murphy teaming up on this. The combination of Remender's equal parts over-the-top and close-to-home take on cyberpunk dystopia and Murphy's angular, cutting art design really bring this fucked-up world to life. From the sad, heartfelt times of codependency to the idiocracy-inspired takes on technology, I was enthralled the whole way through and could not put this book down. I made sure to pick up the second trade as soon as I could after finishing the first. Definitely one of my favorite reads in recent memory. Frank says Tokyo Ghost is a strange one for me. I love the art by Sean. He never disappoints. The story, on the other hand, is a mixed bag. I really don't care for the whole dark future. The VR addiction was really uninteresting, but that's probably more of a personal thing, as I just don't like technology bad stories. And then Parker. This is one of the best looking comics I've ever read. It cemented Sean Murphy as one of, if not my favorite contemporary artist, and Matt Hollingsworth does the best coloring of his decades-long career. So yeah, everybody's positive on it.
Yeah.
And it's nice that it's so short in terms of
just
here it is,
volumes,
contained.
10
Be
issues,
done with
yeah.
it. Yeah.
I have the oversized hardcover the oversized hardcover, and it really shows off the art really good. But I know Rick has teased like the movie production for this right now.
Sure. Well, I mean, he's Deadly Class season 1 was awesome.
Yeah,
we haven't done one of these shows since it all wrapped and stuff, but it was
good.
great.
You watched the finale already?
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally.
We both watched it. Yeah,
and that was the thing, is like somebody who loves his work and loves Deadly Class. It was cool. This season didn't go the way I was expecting. Right. When it started and he gets the rat and stuff, I was like, oh, I know how this is going to end. And then we got there and like, wow, this is not at all where I thought this was going and how this would be a season, which is great because then it leaves me wanting more and seeing what they're doing to come back.
Real quick.
Yeah.
Rick Remender also did Black Science, which is one of my favorite comics.
Black Science is great. Yeah. I've only read like the first 5 volumes, but they just wrapped it up, I think, right? Or it's ending soon.
I'm like way behind right now.
You're way behind, yeah.
So I hope so.
It's coming to an end soon, yeah. It's really good though.
Yeah.
It's by Matteo Scalera. He's the artist.
Kevin's always tried to get me to do it, but then he's also always, I think this is the one you're like, you don't know if I'll like, but.
That one in Descender is like, I don't know if you like, but you like
Descender. I liked. I did like Descender, yeah.
Stuff.
All right. When you're writing the comics and you're working with your artist here, right, Maru or Joe, what is your script looking like? Are you doing, hey, in this panel I want X, Y, and Z, or are you doing hey, I'm going to write dialogue and you put it how you want it to be?
No, it's like in this panel, X, Y, and Z. It's like a full, like to call myself a comic writer, I feel like I have to do that. Like every page is panel by panel, like a panel description, and then like the dialogue in that panel, the sound effects in that panel, and that next panel. I'm writing like how many panels are in there, because like to pace it out how I want it to be, like to call myself a comic writer, I feel like I feel like that's like what Rick does, or like what most of these pros do.
Totally. I mean, full script, right?
Yeah. I know there's no like right or wrong way to do it. I know like Marvel, I think they do like the that Marvel style. Yeah. So I mean, whatever works. I know Gary talked about his process with
Gary's a hack. Oliver.
Oliver, that's right. And then so I know his process is different, but so whatever works for you and your artist.
Totally.
For me, it's always like a full script, so I can plan out like where my full page reveals going to be. There's going to be on even pages. Like where am I going to have spreads and stuff like that, you know.
Interesting. Curtis, what do you want people reading for April? For the next comic book club.
For the homework.
Yeah,
I didn't take this job lightly. Tokyo Ghost would have been one of my choices, but since we already did that, this was between two, like one of Rick's books or a lesser known thing, but I'm going to choose... Pick my own comic. No, I can't do. Yeah, the one on Kickstarter. Yeah. Go to beastlandscomic.com. Thanks, Kevin. No, I'm gonna choose Low by Rick Remender.
Oh,
that is that is 4 volumes are out right now, and that one's coming to a wrap soon too. I think there might be like 1 or 2 more volumes coming.
So we're doing volume 1 of Low.
Yeah,
that's one. That's another one. When we started doing the comic club on the morning show, people were always trying to get me to read Low, and I never have.
It's really good. It's like BioShock. Like in the future, the sun is like overheating, so you can't go on the Earth's like surface. So they built these cities underwater, and the art style took me a little to get used to. Like I didn't really start getting into it till like volume 3. So if you like the first volume, keep going. It's only like 4 volumes out right now, but at least when you get to like volume 3, that's like that like first arc ending type thing.
Okay.
But It's by what's his name? Greg Tocchini. He's a Brazilian artist, and his he did like the colors for like the first 6 issues. So it's like a little his style is different. Like I really didn't like it till volume 3, and then it's like a little more messy and flowy. But then I think once I got to volume 3, like I really started appreciating it and like how good he actually is. They brought in a colorist, like I think issue 7 and up, so it gets like a little cleaner.
Nice.
But it's I think that issue 7 is like one of the best issues of comics I've ever read. So
holy shit. Okay, cool. You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Low, volume 1. That is your required reading. And again, we are not sponsored, but I will let you know, even though you hate digital comics, it's on Comixology Unlimited. So if you have that subscription service still rolling, you can check it out there for free. Well, not free. You pay for the thing, but you know what I mean, like Netflix. Time for big questions. These are ones, of course, pulled from you. Patreon.com/kindafunny. Of course, also pull from Patreon.com/kindafunnygames if you're a gold member, but that means more money, so I just point you over to the participation thread on Patreon.com/kindafunny. Dylan McDermott writes in and says, "Hey Greg, I was wondering if you or Tim have checked out any of the Power Rangers comics from Boom Studios. If not, I think you'd be into them. They've told some great stories with a lot of heart while updating the series with a modern take and more mature tone. The Shattered Grid event last year was huge and is now influencing other Power Rangers media, including the upcoming video game and even the plot of the 25th anniversary episode. Give it a shot. I've never been. I mean, growing up, I liked Power Rangers a lot, like seasons 1 and 2 or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I fell off hard, and I've never really been drawn back to it. I did read the crossover with the Power Rangers and Justice League that happened real recently. That was a lot of fun.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, it's real fun. It's just, you know, 'cause Superman flying next to the Pink Ranger and Miss, will you pull your pterodactyl over? Like, you know what I mean? Like stuff like that. That's cute. But I haven't. Kevin, is Tim still at lunch?
Yeah, I believe so.
Tim has read it, or some of them.
He just came back.
I read a few issues of these new ones just because I saw the artist Simone DeMille.
Yeah,
like, I was really into his art. So
Kevin, can we bring up the shock mic over there?
Yeah.
All right, okay, just come over here. Tim, I'm gonna reread the question.
I just want to show you what Kevin ordered for lunch. Just 2 strips of bacon.
Hell yeah!
I have a salad. I'm gonna combine.
I'm proud of you.
What's the question?
Dylan McDermott writes in and says he was wondering if Tim has checked out the Power Rangers comics from Boom Studios. And just basically, what do you think of the Boom Studios Power Ranger comics? If you've read them.
Yes, I'm not fully caught up. I'm about maybe like 7 months behind, actually. But they are fantastic. They are the best thing to ever happen to Power Rangers. Like, it's not a kid's show anymore.
Okay, what about Jason David Frank?
It's better than that, actually. It's a fact. Way better than that. It's like, it's an adult storyline. Like, it's really cool. Like, this reminds me kind of like if they made a Netflix series about Power Rangers that was like with us as the target audience. Really good job, really cool stories. It's not just about the originals, like they bring the whole mythos in, but make it cool and not just like a toy selling commercial thing. It's cool as hell.
When he said with us, I thought he was going to say with us as Power Rangers, and then he's like with us as the audience. Like, oh, yeah, I guess that's something that could happen. Frank wrote in to patreon.com/kindafunny and says, have any of you read books from Valiant? Parentheses, the 2012 reboot. It's such a great superhero universe. It's amazing to have the feeling of discovery again. I don't know any of these characters, so anything can happen. Also, the continuity part of the universe is solid with a capital S. The best way I can explain it is that it's it's like the MCU, but in comic book form. I've never even heard of Valiant. Have you?
I've heard of them. I know they're like a DC side thing, right? Is that what they are?
No, that's Vertigo, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Never mind then. I haven't read anything from Valiant either.
Valiant comic books. Let's see what we got here. I'm going to pull it up here. So it's Valiant Entertainment. Oh, wait. Kevin, we had somebody on here once that talked about Valiant, didn't we? Valiant Comics is the American publisher of comic books and related media. The company was founded blah, 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 Valiant.
Did someone recommend Killers?
Show me all the titles again. Tokyo Heart, Punk. Was this maybe a James thing? Was James talking about how crazy Valiant could be? Just say you don't know, man.
I'm eating bacon.
Oh, sorry. Then yeah. Well, okay. Yeah. Valiant looks crazy. Yeah. I forget this. Here we go. Thank you. New releases: Man of War, Divinity, Livewire, Imperium. No, the art looks cool. Incursion, Man of War.
I vaguely remember the word incursion.
Okay.
I've heard of Bloodshot. Bloodshot.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is though.
So no one's read them, and most people haven't heard of them. I want you to write in, Frank, for next time with the top 3 Valiant comics I need to read to get hooked. Thank you. Brandon writes in though and says, Greg, last month you asked what podcast I listen to, so I wanted to mention here. It's called iFanboy. As a company, iFanboy has been around since 2005, and they were originally a full comic news site. Around 2013, they scaled down heavily to the point where they just do 1 podcast episode a week with some extras thrown in every once in a while. Parentheses, movie discussions, creator interviews, etc. I love them because they're older than me. Parentheses, I think they graduated college in the 80s or the 90s and have been consistently reading comics. So it's nice to hear a different perspective than most reviews on the internet. That's a great one. iFanboy. I'm going to put that on my list.
I've heard of that one, yeah.
Have you?
Yeah.
Do you listen to us? Do you listen to other comic podcasts?
I try to find some. It's hard to find good ones, yeah.
You talk about how you do one. Are other creators doing podcasts?
I don't think so.
See, that's the next big thing. Yeah. Like, honestly, if like you look at every professional wrestler that has a podcast.
Do they all have them? I don't know.
Oh my God, yeah, totally. Everybody does. Well, not if you're working for WWE, because I think they'll they don't want you talking about stuff. But like anybody else, like anybody who's retired totally does. And I would feel like that'd be such a smart move for Rick Remender's making $1 million in Hollywood.
Robert Kirkman. Yeah,
exactly. Robert Kirkman. But he won't do anything.
Yeah. Like mine are just like 15 minutes where I just like talk about the process and stuff. It's weird. Podcasting is a lot harder than it looks when you're just watching you guys, especially when you're alone in your apartment just talking into a mic.
It's just you?
Hard. Yeah.
Very tough,
I don't interview people. I did one episode that was like a Q&A with a different creator. He wanted to ask me a bunch of questions. So
that's cool. What's it again?
Writing Comics.
There it is.
Don't listen to the early ones; those are super rough. I didn't know how to edit or anything, so
it was like just jump ahead, jump far ahead. Yeah. Let's check in with what you should be reading. This is where you, members of the Comic Book Club, tell me what you're reading and why other people should be reading it. Frank chimes in with some DC book, or 2 DC books. Justice League. This new Fifth Dimension arc is really getting me back on board with this book. I was starting to lose interest, but now I'm back in. Not a lot plot-wise has happened, but the art is fantastic and the character interactions are on point. That's good enough for me. I give it 4 out of 5 muscle suits. Yeah, I had seen this. I have it downloaded. I'd seen coming around of Superman and everybody running from one side fighting the other group of bad guys who you assume are bad guys that look just like them but aren't the crime syndicate. Seemed interesting. Justice League in general, since not even Rebirth, I guess, but since they got my Superman back, I've been getting but haven't been reading. And it was like, oh man, they're doing a Legion of Doom thing. Oh whatever. I just never. They're just all stacked up. But when am I gonna have time?
Yeah.
Though, Frank chimes in with this one, Naomi. Naomi was the one I talked about issue 1 I loved so much, where it was like this girl, small town, Superman fought Mongol in it for like 10 seconds, and then they left. And like how that town's reacting to it. Issue 1 was great, and then ended, and this is a Bendis book, ended with maybe she's got special abilities too. And I was like, I don't care about that. Frank chimes in with this. After issue 2, I was a bit nervous that this was going to be another one of those, quote, I was special after all kind of stories. But after issue 3, it seems like it's not going to be that. And now I'm back on board. I also really like the twist at the end of issue 3 that I thought was great at playing with your expectations. I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. I give it 3 out of 5 huge men. Seriously, how do people think he's normal? I already know the character you're talking about from the end of issue 1. 100% agree with you. Jericho, who also, and this is a crazy one, Jericho had lapsed on a bunch of stuff too. Jericho usually the #1 comment on here. I'm not guilting you, Jericho. I'm just letting you know. You want to talk about what a busy month it was. Even Jericho's like, I didn't have a lot of time to do a lot of stuff. However, he did read Black Hammer. When you have a love for superheroes and you're a comic book / artist / writer, there is no other way to write a superhero story yourself. Jeff Lemire just did just that. A different take on a known origin story and characters mixed all together is what you find in Black Hammer. The characters feel like a strange mix of parody and newly created people with their own personalities, but the feel very familiar and share superpowers and bits and pieces from comic book backstories, like popular superheroes, Captain Marvel / Shazam, Captain America, or the Martian Manhunter. I liked it a lot, and I'm excited to see how it develops in these stranded heroes. Mario wrote back in to talk about Daredevil 1 and 2. It's been a great start of a new run to Daredevil. I found Soul's run to be enjoyable, but not quite at the same level that we've come to expect from a Daredevil series. Parentheses, it's easily been one of the best written titles since the 80s when Miller started his run. The new series is a return to a more familiar street-level Matt as he struggles in both his private life as Matt Murdock and as Daredevil. It seems right in line with what Smith, Bendis, Brubaker, and Wade did with Daredevil before. It's a decent jumping on point for new readers. There are a couple of things that are from the last run, but you'll pick it up if you get into it. Jeremy Barrett wrote in to talk about Doomsday Clock. Man, as long as the rollout of this has been, I'm still absolutely loving Doomsday Clock. With Watchmen, probably my favorite comic book ever, it's still so cool to see what they've done with the characters justice, that they've done these characters justice while attempting to merge them into the DC universe. I'm still as invested as ever, now even more so after the latest issue, and can't wait to see where they go with this story. I'm the opposite, where Doomsday Clock I thought started, so you're familiar at all with this?
No, not
So
at
this
all.
is the one where originally it was, and this is what was in continuity, that they were, after How Did Rebirth happen? It lined up that it was going to be, basically it looked like it was going to be Dr. Manhattan did it and has been playing with everybody's histories and stuff, and that there had been a crossover of the Watchmen in the DC universe. And they started it. I thought it started really strong. Then they started doing the books rather than once a month, once every other month. So really spreading them out, which I think maybe them picking up Bendis also totally changed the trajectory of what they were going to do with it. So now it's this weird Watchmen DC thing that doesn't feel like it actually is dealing with the DC universe in continuity anymore. But since it's coming out so with so much space in between them, it is very much a, wait, what's happening? Why? Where is this person? And so like this last one was finally Dr. Manhattan having to confront a bunch of different superheroes, and it was fun, but I don't even find it memorable. Like when I was going through what I was going to put in my pull list of stuff to talk about, I didn't even think to put it in until I saw Jeremy here, and I was like, well, Jeremy could talk about it because he's more on it. But like, for me, I was just like, meh.
So they're just crossing over with like everything then, because they did. Did you hear the Black Hammer and Justice League?
Yeah. That was right after. I think it was in between Dornbush's episode where he recommended here that there's gonna be a crossover.
So just crossing over with anything.
Hey man, go have some fun.
Yeah.
Do the comics. You know what I mean? Who else is throwing out stuff? Oh, Parker put out 2 that I thought were interesting. First off, he put up Unfollow. It's 18 issues, Rob Williams. Unfollow is about a dying billionaire who gives his money to 140 people through a Twitter-like app and invites the 140 to a secluded island. On the island, we learn that when a person dies, that money is spread out among the rest of the people. People start dying pages later. Eventually, one person will be a multi-billionaire. The main characters we follow are Dave, a poor black guy, Courtney, a rich white girl, and Raven, a Middle Eastern reporter. The series is about how social media, fame, and how the hunger for money is destroying human society. I like the concept of the series when it was announced in 2015, and I am happy I finally read the series. That sounds awesome. That was an easy sell, Parker. I'm totally all about that. 18 issues, it's done, it sounds like. So yeah, I want to check that out. And then he also recommended this, which I had seen other people talking about, but I hadn't picked up. Spider-Man Life Story Issue 1. This series is a must-read for all webhead fans out there. The concept is that Peter and the Marvel Universe are aging in real time. It begins with a 19 or 20-year-old Peter Parker in 1966, and each issue covering 1 decade of his life. The first issue follows Peter as he's thinking about joining the war in Vietnam and has an awesome conversation with Captain America about their respective heroic responsibilities. We also see the iconic moments of Flash Thompson leaving New York for Vietnam and Norman revealing to Peter that he knows about Spider-Man. Another one sounds awesome. Parker, you have good recommendations. Not that I'm putting other people's recommendations down. I'm just saying those ones I will do. Just not as good as Parker, you know what I mean? Kev, you understand. And then Brandon chimes in for the last one of what he's been reading. Sunstone. This is basically the BDSM comic I talked about last time that I thought was really cool. He says, I've dabbled in reading stories for grown-ups before, so I've been meaning to read Sunstone for years, and Greg mentioned he gave me the perfect excuse. The problem is that I can be a bit of a completionist. I started the first volume a few weeks ago, but I wanted to have them all done by the next episode of this show. So, I read about 4 volumes between Friday and Sunday. Lol, I loved it. I'm a sucker for cheesy romantic stuff and BDSM, with Cedric's art made it amazing. I'm always interested in learning why people like what they like, sports, books, etc. So I really enjoy the insight into the lives of doms and submissives. If I had any criticism, it would be the story kind of dragged a bit towards the end. I understood why the characters acted and felt the way they did, but I think it could have been wrapped up sooner. Also, while some of Cedric's pages are beautiful, some others kind of felt like rough sketches. Still a great book, though. I would 100% recommend it, as long as the reader is willing to be open-minded. Lol. I have to get back to it. I still haven't finished it when I started it
what
last time.
What publisher puts that out?
That is an Image one, I think, as well. You stumped me. No, maybe it's Top Cow. Hold on. I want to, before I get the fact check, I like to,
I think Top Cow is like partnered with Image, though, right?
Aren't they now? That's
like
weird.
Subset, yeah.
Because that's the thing. I grew up with a Top Cow. They always had a cool logo, remember? And I picked it up at Comic-Con one year, and I put it on my window in my room, and then never fully understood what it was. I never really went into it. It's Top Cow for sure. But yeah, it looks like Image Top Cow is what it has over there. Explain that. Kevin, what's the relationship of Top Cow Comics to Image now?
Like kind of like how Skybound is like a subset. Like they have Shadowline, Skybound, Rick Remender's is Giant Generator.
Partner studio of Image Comics, yeah.
Yeah, they have like 6 partners. So
gotcha. Fucking Robert Kirkland, you know what I'm saying?
Is this the logo you put up?
No, well, it's similar to that one, but it was black and white and not all spread out like that. That's it. That's the one you had up there, right? Think about being a cool 90s kid, you know what I mean? And I had that in my room. Because remember, like, we go to... You go to a PAX now or an E3 and you see people carrying around the giant bags of just anything free they can get, and we roll it. Oh, come on, you know what I mean? That was me and my dad. Me and Dad, 3 days at Wizard World, we went to every booth and got every poster and every sticker and everything. I wasn't discriminating. I had Danzig stickers on my door. I never read that comic, but I was like, hell yeah, give me that. Onslaught stickers, and I thought fucking Marvel sucked. Was I right back then? I was. Now they're good. Don't worry about it. I digress. It's time for I Love This Place. This is where one of you writes in, giving a shout out to your local comic book shop and why it is great. Gary Horman writes in today on patreon.com/kindafunny and says, I wanted to shout out my comic shop, Ash Avenue Comics in Tempe, Arizona. Drew is a great owner who has great employees who always are super friendly to everyone in the shop and always have a recommendation. The owner just had a baby, but is still there every Wednesday with the new releases. Additionally, they have a comic book club every month where everyone discusses one book they read. The last one was for Mr. Miracle and the artist Mitch Garadz. I've never pronounced his name. He follows me on Twitter, though. We talk once in a while. Mitch Garadz came out and told us these lovely little tidbits about the book. Seriously, read Mr. Miracle if you haven't. I obviously say yes, do that as well. I liked it so much when I talked to Nick the other day about it, I went down and bought it for him. And now Kevin has it. Have you read it yet, Kev? You've been busy. It's cool. Don't worry. It's a great shop, and between them and this show, it has gotten me back into comics. Support your local shop. I agree, Gary. Support your local shop. Support local creators as well, like local best friends, kind of funny best friends, because we're all local on the internet. Like Curtis. Curtis, where can everybody get your books?
To infinitystudios.com, and then the comic is still on Kickstarter, beastlandscomic.com.
And you're gonna be better at social media.
I'm gonna be better.
You're not gonna talk shit about it. You're gonna use it.
I love
you're
it.
Enjoy
I love it.
There it is. That's
You
what
got
I
me
like to
convinced
see.
now.
Curtis, this is awesome. It's
Thank
so
you.
cool to see.
We have a stretch goal for this. If we can get to 12,000, every physical backer will get an extra book with a variant cover. So.
Oh, nice. That's really cool. It's so cool to see you and anybody from the community, the kind of funny best friends, like going out and chasing their dreams and making it happen. Like literally having their dreams in their hand. You're gonna go places, dude.
Thank you, man.
Congratulations.
Appreciate it.
Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, Excelsior.